Since the beginning of last regular season, the New York Rangers have made lots of different changes with this current roster, as well as coaching staff also. And we have also seen so far in this offseason, the Rangers go out there and make a couple additions that could potentially help the bottom six of this team. And in today's video, we're going to take a look at that bottom six of the New York Rangers on the forward side of things and kind of talk about what it could possibly look like, because I think there are quite a few different center options for that fourth and third line, but I do think the fourth line center spot is pretty much locked in. But the rest of this bottom six, other than that kind of 4C spot, is pretty much up for grabs. There are lots of question marks on kind of who's going to be taking those spots there. There's going to be lots of competition. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at each and every single player that I think could possibly have a realistic shot, somewhat at least, of competing for one of those kind of bottom six spots. And like I said, I do think Sam Carrick has that fourth line center spot pretty much locked in. But other than that, I think it's pretty much open and wide open to the rest of these players. So let's get right into things here and really take a look at what the New York Rangers bottom six could possibly look like, because I think it's interesting with all the kind of young players that are going to be in the competition there, at training camp in the preseason, and same with some kind of older veteran kind of guys that have been picked up so far this offseason as well. There should be lots of competition for those wing spots as well as, third line center spot mainly. So I think it's going to be interesting to kind of see who ends up getting those spots, especially with the Rangers having a new head coach and coaching staff in general, with Mike Sullivan taking over as the head coach. So let's start off here by taking a look at all three centermen that I think have a realistic shot at kind of competing for one of those bottom six center spots on that third or fourth line. And then we'll take a look at the wingers and talk about some actual kind of lineup combinations afterwards. But starting off here with the centermen, we have three, like I said, being first off Sam Carrick, Juuso Parssinen, and Johnny Brodzinski. Now, I'm going to make it clear, I do think Mika Zibanejad is going to be and should be a winger. I could be wrong, obviously, but from what I saw last season there, him on wing compared to when he was at center, it's a drastic difference there. It doesn't even look like the same player at all, honestly, for the most part. So I think keeping Mika on wing is definitely what's best for this team going forward. I'm not saying he's going to earn every single dollar of that contract on wing, but I do think he's going to be a much more valuable player for this Rangers team on wing than if he were to be at center, which we saw him be a pretty big liability defensively at moments and obviously wasn't contributing a whole ton offensively, whereas making that switch to wing, we saw Mika really kind of turn things up on, I think, both ends. And also, I am kind of projecting / predicting that we're going to see more than likely the wingers in the top six be Panarin, Lafreniere, Zibanejad, and Cooley. So that's the top six wingers there, four of them. And then you've got the two centermen being JT Miller, of course, and Vincent Trocheck. So that's kind of my top six kind of forwards, in my opinion. That's probably what we're going to see. But for the centers, getting back to them, though, I do, like I said, think Sam Carrick is pretty much locked in at that fourth line center spot. I think he's pretty much got that solidified now already. I think he is a great and pretty much perfect fourth line center. There's not much more you can realistically ask out of a fourth line center than kind of what he brings, which I think he can be a really solid defensive centerman. He is a really great penalty killer as well, but just in general, a good defensive centerman. He's a great face-off taker at 54.2 face-off win percentage this past season there. Can obviously, like I said, help kill penalties there. He did have 3 shorthanded points, including a goal, so can be a bit of a threat there at moments on the PK, which is obviously nice. I just think in general is a really kind of prototypical good fourth line center. He's exactly kind of what you want out of your fourth line center, bringing some toughness, some grittiness, a bit of experience there, being 33 years old now. He's 6 foot, just over 200 pounds, but just has a really solid kind of all-around game there. And obviously, offensively, he's not going to bring a ton there, but he can be a bit of a threat at moments in the PK, like I said, and just for the most part there is going to be a reliable, tough, gritty, more defensive centerman, which I think is exactly what you want out of a fourth line center. And the other centermen that I think are in competition kind of for that third line spot are Juuso Parssinen and Johnny Brodzinski. And I'm going to be honest, I do think Parssinen has that kind of clear lead right now. Things can definitely change in training camp and in preseason, but I think as of right now, I'm guessing the plan for the Rangers is to go with Juuso Parssinen at that third line center spot. I could be wrong, but that's just kind of my guess as of this moment. We know what Brodzinski can bring there. He's more of a kind of, fourth line guy, honestly, but I think he definitely can play a role in that bottom six there. He's a really great kind of forward to have because he is a versatile kind of player. He can, jump in here and there in that top six if he absolutely had to for a game or two, possibly. He's also a guy who can fit in that kind of bottom six really, really well. I think it's kind of where he's obviously best at, but I just think, solid kind of two-way guy. At moments can bring some good offense. At moments can bring some good defensive play. He's an energy energy kind of guy, solid two-way player, brings a bit of toughness, a bit of physicality, nothing too crazy on that side of things, but just brings a bit of that stuff. So I think he's an all-around really solid player, and have him continuously be in this organization, I think is a nice thing. But my guess is he'll probably end up being a winger or an extra forward to begin this upcoming season, but I do think he'll be probably in this lineup potentially to begin this upcoming season, although it might not be in a center position. Taking a look, though, at the wingers now, though, which we have quite a few guys that are going to be in the mix for some of these spots in that bottom six. And first off, we've got Matt Rempe, Adam Edstrom, Taylor Radish, who was just picked up this past offseason alongside Justin Dowling, who was picked up this offseason as well. Then we've got some prospects here, young guys in Brennan Othmann, Brett Berard, and Gabe Perreault, with some other kind of players that I think have a not good at chance of making the roster, but they're definitely going to be, maybe making a little bit of noise there, possibly to kind of push some of the other guys there and just be a part of that good competition there for these spots. And that's Dylan Rubrek, who I think isn't terribly far off of being NHL ready. Brennan Brisson, who is, a bit older. He's starting to kind of push towards his mid-20s now, so isn't a super kind of young prospect, but he has had some NHL games under his belt there, can play center and wing, so maybe he kind of pushes for a spot possibly, but I doubt it. And then Trey Fix-Bolansky, my guess is he will be in the AHL, but he's a smaller kind of skilled guy, so probably won't fit in that bottom six anywhere, but, maybe somehow cracked a role in the third line. But like I said, my guess is he won't make the team at all, and he'll probably just begin this upcoming season alongside Brendan Brisson and Rubrek in the AHL. But these are just some other guys who I think are also, maybe going to be talked about a little bit there to possibly be in competition with some of these other guys as well. But for someone like Justin Dowling, I'm kind of guessing he will be more of an AHL kind of player. He did spend about 50 games or so last season there with the Devils in the NHL, but for the most part, there is more of an AHL kind of player, so that's my guess on where he'll start next season. And my guess for the upcoming season, though, to begin on the fourth line are these two wingers, Matt Rempe and Adam Edstrom. These are the two players who I think are going to get the opportunity to begin this upcoming season on opening night on that fourth line. I think they're going to get those spots there alongside Sam Carrick. I think they worked pretty well together on the fourth line this past season there, especially with, a guy like Rempe and even Edstrom, you could argue, kind of taking some steps up in their development, especially Rempe, though I think he turned into a much more kind of, better all-around player. Not saying he's phenomenal right now, but he's definitely, I would say, more improved from like the 2020, 3-24 season compared to this past 2024-25 season. So I do think he's kind of taking a step up there. I don't think he's a finished product. I definitely think he still has some more room to grow and get better, but him and Edstrom being these two massive players out there on the ice, 6'7", 6'8" kind of range there, something around there, with that height, that size, that physicality, and Edstrom does have a bit of kind of skill there to his game for sure. Not a terrible offensive kind of guy. I think does have a little more to kind of show offensively than kind of what we've seen so far. So if he can get going a little more offensively there alongside Rempe and Carrick, I think that can be once again a really solid kind of tough physical kind of energy line up there, but also will hopefully be a good kind of defensive line, or at least a decent defensive line. I'm not going to say they're going to be a shutdown kind of, top tier defensive line in the league, but they definitely will hopefully be a pretty solid, at least to hold their own defensive end up there to where they can, get quite a bit of time out there on the ice and, use their physicality to their advantage there and, lay the body a lot, bring some energy, kind of fire the guys up there on the bench with some big hits, some fights here and there, stick up for teammates, because that's their job on that fourth line, and just to play some solid all-around hockey, which I definitely think a fourth line of, Matt Rempe, Sam Carrick, and Edstrom can definitely do. And if I am correct, though, and we do see a fourth line of, let's say, Matt Rempe, Sam Carrick, and Adam Edstrom, I do think the third line could look something like this. So one of the wingers, of course, being Taylor Radish, and then one of the other wingers being Othmann, Berard, or Perreault. I think we might only end up actually seeing one of those three out of Othmann, Berard, and Perreault actually in the lineup for opening night. I definitely do not see a chance where we're going to see all three unless a bunch of injuries happen. And I think it's definitely possible we might only see one of those three guys actually begin the season in the opening night lineup. And then for that center spot, like I said, my guess is it's probably going to be Juuso Parssinen. So for my projections as of right now for the bottom six of the Rangers to begin this upcoming season for opening night, as of this second, right now, recording, my projections and prediction for these lines for the bottom six are as follows. On the fourth line, left wing spot, we've got Matt Rempe. Down the middle, we've got Sam Carrick. And on the right wing for the fourth line, we have Adam Edstrom. Now for the third line there, my guess is it's going to be potentially a Taylor Radish on one of the wings there alongside, like I said, probably one of Othmann, Berard, or Perreault. And my guess as of right now is it's probably going to be Perreault. But I also don't necessarily think I love that fit as much as maybe a guy like Berard or Othmann to go alongside, Juuso or Radich on that third kind of line there. I don't know if I love that fit of Perreault there, but my kind of guess is it will be Perreault as of right now, but I could be wrong, obviously, and I'd be more than happy to be wrong there because I do kind of, like I said, like the fit of a guy like Othmann or Berard over a guy like Perreault to go alongside, Juuso, Parssinen, and Taylor Raddysh on that third line because I think Gabe Perreault's skill set is definitely more kind of fit for that top six. Maybe we do see a guy like Mika kind of slide down a bit there, possibly to the third line on the wing there potentially, and have a guy like Gabe possibly go up there, which I wouldn't be against either, but just kind of my guess there as of right now is for the fourth line, Matt Rempe, Sam Carrick, Adam Edstrom. For the third line, probably Taylor Raddysh, Juuso, Parssinen, and on the right side, Gabe Perreault possibly, but I could be wrong there. Maybe we do see Othmann on the left there and then Raddysh on the right, or maybe we see Raddysh on the left and Othmann on the right, or Gabe on the left and Raddysh on the right. Like there are lots of kind of combinations you can kind of do there with these wingers. I mean, Gabe can, I think, pretty much play both sides there. Same thing with Othmann. Berard's more of a lefty, but I think you have some kind of decent flexibility there, and I'm sure Raddysh, if he has to as well, can flip sides, although he is, I believe, more of a right winger. But either way, there's going to be lots of competition this offseason, and you're heading into training camp, of course, and into preseason as well for those bottom six spots especially. And that's pretty much going to do it for today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day a video at 10 a.m. Eastern time about the New York Rangers. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts and kind of predictions or projection on kind of what you think the New York Rangers kind of bottom six could potentially look like. Do you think it's going to be like mine, where I have, Rempe, Carrick, Edstrom, and then like maybe a Raddysh, Parssinen, kind of Perreault combo? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Which guys do you want to see in the team there in the bottom six? Which ones do you think are going to make it there? And, what do you want to see happen with Othmann, Berard, and Perreault? Because I think that is a big question right now on what to do with those three guys, because I think there's really only kind of an opportunity for two of them, and I really only think one of them is actually going to get one of those spots on this team for opening night. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.